Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the CPE Bach in Pieces series. That's a series in which you and I together deconstruct in bits and pieces the famous work of Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach, his Versuch über die wahre Art des Klavierspielen, or in English, the essay on the true art of keyboard playing. In the previous episode was a very long episode talking about temperament. Bach is writing on temperament in his book in paragraph number 14, and we came up with some conclusions. First, that Bach tuned his keyboard probably with most fifths narrowed down a little bit, barely noticeable, so not all fifths, but in order to make sure that all 24 keys were perfectly usable, gut brauchbar, and a little bit in contradiction to that with the sentence that on the keyboard one plays in 24 keys gleich rein, equally pure. So it contradicts a little bit the first sentence, because to have a temperament in which all keys sounds gleich rein, equally pure, mean that you have to flatten out all fifths. We're going to find out now at the keyboard which fifths you would like to have pure and for what reason. It's probably something that will hard to be discovered, and it's up to not speculations but to practical use. And I think that Emanuel Bach was a very practical musician, but nevertheless these hints are very important. I've prepared my clavichord for this demonstration. I'm recording this in a small series of videos on temperaments, so you might want to check out if you want to see me tuning the clavichord. That video is online, I will link it here. Now it's tuned in Werkmeister 17.7, which is the Wohltemperierte Harmonia. That's the temperament in which all 12 fifths are narrowed down a little bit, 1/12. Of course, what's that? I mean, I'm not a calculation machine, so that's up for debate how precise you can tune or you can apply such a temperament in daily practice. That's another discussion. I will make also a video on Werkmeister 17.7 separate from this. Will go online in a few days or few weeks. I will link videos together, and in which I discuss the fact that if you narrow down, if you flatten the fifths by 1/12 on ear, you still have differences in keys. You will see that the differences are really minor. It's just very slightly favoring a certain key on top of another. But the differences we're talking about are not big. They are not a world of difference. Gut brauchbar means not noticeably out of tune. I think that's the bottom line for any temperament that is connected to kind of new way of playing, where players at that time were expanding their techniques. Okay, without further ado, let's try things out. I've left this felt here, so I muted it. That gives a very dry sound. I have a dull clavichord now, but it gives us a possibility of hearing the beats better. Referring to Barthold Fritz, 1756, that little book we're going to talk about extensively in the future, in some future videos. That book says, well, you have 3 stages of fifths. You have the perfect pure fifth, you have a little bit wider, and you have a little bit more narrow. The more narrow fifth is what you have to look for, but it's barely noticeable. So if Emanuel Bach writes it's barely noticeable, you see the connection with Barthold Fritz. Barthold Fritz is applying the Werkmeister 17.7 Wohltemperierte Harmonia 100%, which is the basis for gleichschwebend and equal temperament tuned on ears. On the clavichord, you can check, of course, very easily by giving a little bit more pressure on the upper note, and then the fifth should restore to its full purity. Let's try. If you're not used to hear that difference, it might be difficult to hear the difference, but it's a kind of feeling that you have to develop more than listening to the beats. That's at least how I tune. So you start by listening a kind of fifth that has a certain color, but it's not a fifth that's out of tune. But if I press a little bit on the upper note, you will feel that it's a kind of little bit more relaxed feeling. Or This one might be a little bit too narrow. And it's of course also different going down and going up. So you see differences are very small. I could imagine that, for instance, if you have it in C major, which is quite okay, then go to C sharp. There we have a difference. But imagine that we say C is a key that we want to have very good, and F as well. So that would mean that the B flat F, we would raise the F until this interval reaches complete purity, and then of course we have a little bit smaller third, which would give a more relaxed third. Let's see what the result is. So find the F here. Let's see the difference between the fifths now. It's just a little bit more shiny. Okay, then this should sound nice. Of course, we should adjust the octave as well. Something that's really hard is talking and tuning at the same time. Something like this. Let's compare that to E major now. It's better. So we will lose C sharp a little bit. If I tune the upper F as well. This. You cannot say that C sharp is not usable. But F becomes a little bit better. Now we have sacrificed this C sharp, F or E sharp interval. But not too much. So this is a... Now it's pure. So I have even the tangent, the differences of the tangent. So you have a gliding system, so a guiding system at the end of the key. It's really precise, but if you're listening to those minor differences, even the moving position of the tangent, it's barely noticeable, but you will hear it. Okay, let's see what happens to the F C fifth. It's smaller, but it's okay. So again here, what difference are we talking? It's different. This is sharper. It is better. And then maybe C major as well. Just thinking out loud now. If we want to make this better, we can either lower the E or make the C a little bit higher. We have corrected the F, so we increase the pitch a little bit. We might do the same with C, correcting the original ratio between the fifths there. So again, actually this is going to be too fast now. Correct the C again. The C is still is sharper. You listen. So I could raise the C again. I have still some margin to do that, but that would mean the A flat C will be a bit bigger. Adjust this C as well. So guys, this is the difference we're talking about. It's not too much. F is still better. So we have this fifth change. With this. So just to demonstrate, it's up to you if you want to have 2/5 pure and the rest flattened, or 3. I mean, what keys do you want to favor? Remember this, if you take this too far, you will come in a system that's really unequal. If you deviate too much from what Werkmeister 77 has written, then of course you will come inevitably in a situation where you have more difference between the fifths than Immanuel Bach is writing about. He says barely noticeable amount of narrowing the fifths, which also means that the differences between all the fifths are barely noticeable. Connecting Immanuel Bach with a real unequal temperament, and there are some fighters here, don't worry about that. There's an air show this evening here nearby, so we are very, very safe or not. So that's actually, the differences are very small. If you want to take Immanuel Bach as a source to put him in this bridge period between mean tone and kind of equal temperament, so really flattening out the differences because of the expansion of the keys in which players wanted to play, then I think you do him a little bit injustice. It's tempering most fifths is very close to Wohltemperierter Harmonia, and the bottom line I think we can take from this, if I learn from this, but again we have to put it in a larger perspective, still is that the differences between the keys, the characteristics of the keys, if anyone is talking about that more than Mattheson in a relationship with 24 keys, which I doubt, I haven't found that, but it's not related to the quality of the thirds. If you expand your playing into more distant keys, you have to compromise on temperament, and at least that's the way I read it in the 18th century. Also with C.P.E. Bach, the out of tune intervals, like you would have playing an E flat minor while applying Werkmeister 3, for instance, is something they would not have appreciated. They would consider that to be just out of tune and not to have that E flat minor third reflect whatever kind of characteristic that we want to address or to put on top of that key. What is acceptable, that's of course up for debate, and that's up to our taste and our reflections and our daily use and what we like, in fact. But historically, that's maybe a conclusion that we can draw. If you would put the numbers on paper and calculate everything, then you would of course see the differences. But again, in reality, and that's also something you read in the historical context, it's quite a lot, that you have the calculations and you have the practical exercises, daily exercise, or really practically tune the instrument. And for me, I like seeing those numbers on paper. They don't tell me a lot. I like experimenting using my ears, and then you come into a whole other story of nuances that are again staying within this range of kind of equality. It's not a big deal, I think. Okay, that's actually it for this practical demonstration. Again, there are some more demonstration videos on temperament that are online now or will come online. And if you like that, please hit that subscribe button. Certainly, if you're new to the channel, this channel is all about exploring the music from Bach to Beethoven and beyond, to performances and sharing some aspects of research or practical research as we did today. That's the case. If you like that, hit that subscribe button and maybe also the bell icon next to the subscription button. You stay on top of everything then by notifications, also with the live streams, which is a great way to interact with each other. and then we see each other very soon again. Bye.